OpenAI has recently launched a new model which they called OpenAI O1. What exactly it is, how it is different from the existing model, where it can be used, all of that we are going to discuss in this video. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mukeshkala. I am a 4 times UiPath MVP certified solution architect and an advanced RPA developer. In this playlist, we are exploring the capabilities of GPT. In the previous videos, we have already seen what is GPT-3, 3.5. We have also explored the capabilities of GPT4o. So in case you are not aware of the previous things which are discussed, you can watch the previous videos which I have linked in the description, and that will help you to give the context that how GPT is getting evolved, right? So today in this video, we are going to explore about the OpenAI O1, which is the recent model which is uploaded by OpenAI. We are going to see how it is different, what actually we can do it with, what are the use cases where it suits better, and how is the output different from the previous model, right? I would be opening the OpenAI instance and I would be showing you some of the practical examples, and let's try to explore that how exactly it is different and how does the result vary. Okay, so I am back to the openai.com, and here where September 12 they say that we have introduced a new model which is called OpenAI O1. It says that these models have now more capability which can spend more time thinking before they respond. If you are already a GPT4o or GPT user, you understand that when we used to ask a query, we used to get an option that it is analyzing, but now with this OpenAI O1 it says that it has now a capability of thinking before responding, which means that you might get a little delay in the response because it is thinking, and the benefit for as a user would be that we would get more accurate responses, right? So this is where it is OpenAI O1 preview. Let's click on this guy which is learn more, and let's see what exactly we have before we jump to the actual interface. Okay. Today we are releasing the first in the series, and it is available both in the ChatGPT as well as in the APIs, which means that it would be available for you to access in the front end, as well as if you are a programmer who is trying to access this model via APIs, this is also available in the API as well. Okay, so this is a preview and we expect regular updates and the improvement. Let's see how does OpenAI say that it works. So how does it work? So we have trained this model to spend more time thinking through problems before they respond, much like a person would. Through trainings, they learn to refine their thinking process, try different strategies, and recognize their mistakes as well, right? So OpenAI might have done some test in their test. The next module update similar to a PhD student challenging benchmark taking in physics, chemistry, and biology. We have also found that it excels in math and coding as well, right? So as an early model, this is an early model. It does not have yet many of the features like browsing on the web, information, uploading file and image, right? So you cannot upload image, which you can always do in GPT4o. So you don't have option of uploading the file and the images. That might be come up in near future, and but for the complex reasoning task, this is a significant advancement. The good part which I really like about this update is this feature which is called the safety. As part of developing these models, we have come up with a new safety training approach that harness their reasoning capabilities to adhere them to safety alignment guidelines, which means that now your data is more secure, your data is more safe. Now you might be thinking how OpenAI has done it. So they have also mentioned in the same article that one way we measure the safety is by testing how the model continues to follow via jailbreaking, bypassing the jailbreaks. One of the hardest jailbreaking tests, GPT-4 scored 22 on a scale of 0 to 100, while the O1 preview model scored 84. So the jailbreaking test GPT-4o has scored 22. However, this model, which is the O1 model, has scored 84, which is a very significant jump in terms of the safety, right? More details you can always read from this page. Now a question is, who exactly this model is for? Is it applicable to everyone? Yes, it is available for use to everybody if you are a GPT plus user, but actually who is this model built for? So these enhance reasoning capabilities if you are tracking complex problem in science, coding, maths and similar field. For example, O1 can be used by healthcare researchers to annotate the cell sequencing data, by physicists to generate the complicated mathematical formulas needed for quantum optics and all these complex stuff, right? So if you are someone whose field has a lot of intensive research kind of data, you want to work it on your own data which is more complex, and before GPT respond, and you do not want any random or vague response, you want exact responses, this model is for you. With that, OpenAI has also got a mini version of it which they called as OpenAI O1 mini, right? OpenAI O1 was the first model which we are discussing. Then you have a new one which is called OpenAI O1 mini. What exactly this is? The O1's excels accurately generating and debugging the complex code. To offer a more efficient solution for developer, we are releasing OpenAI, a faster and a cheaper reasoning model which is effective at coding. This is a much smaller model compared to the OpenAI O1, which is smaller, and as a smaller model which is 80% more cheaper than that, and it is much more powerful, and this is mostly made for the developers, right? Because when you actually use it via API, we are getting charged for tokens. So the more cheaper the model would be, the more easier it is for the developers to create solution around it, right? I'll post the link directly in the description so you can read more about it. Now the question arises, if I am a user, I have to use it, how can I use it, right? So you have to be a ChatGPT Plus and a team user to access this model starting today, which is 12th of September. Both O1 Preview and O1 Mini may be selected manually from the model picker, which we are going to see at the launch, right? Weekly rate limit will be 30 messages for O1 Preview and 50 for O1 Mini, right? So you have a weekly limit of 30 messages, which is 30 for O1, and for O1 mini you have 50, right? We are working to increase this rate, and GPT will automatically choose the right model for the given prompt, right? So that's how you have to use it, right? And for the developers who are trying to basically use this as an API, you have a limit there as of today, which is a rate limit of 20 rpm. We are working to increase this limit, additional testing, and all of this is information available here, right? And then it says that for the GPT free users, in case you don't have the paid subscription, we are planning to bring the O1 mini access, which was the smaller model, much more faster, specifically for developers, right? As we discussed, will be soon available for the GPT free users, people who don't have the paid subscription. Very soon you would be able to see the OpenAI mini into your ChatGPT dropdown. Okay, so as previously discussed, that as of now these model does not have an option to upload the image or upload the file, but this is an early preview. In addition to this model, we expect to add a browsing, file and image uploading feature so that we can cater to more and more use cases, right? So this was a brief about that, how this product has shaped. Okay, now with that information, let's go back to our ChatGPT. I already have a plus subscription, so let's try to see how it is different from the responses. Let's try to compare it with GPT4o and this latest one, and try to see how we really see a difference, or is it exactly the same. Let's try to find it out by doing a live test. Okay, so going back to my GPT now. Okay, so I am back into my GPT screen, and this is my GPT version. As of now, you can see this is currently working on GPT4o, right? If I select this drop down, so here you see that we have this O1 preview, which is for uses the advanced reasoning, and here is the faster at reasoning, which is your O1 mini, right? And in case you want to have the previous one, all of these are available for you here. This temporary chat option is still there, right? So to switch the model, first we just go here and click on this guy, which is this O1 preview and O1 mini as well. Okay, now what I have got is, before making this video, I have got a couple of prompts which I am just going to copy paste, and then let's see how does it difference in the Chat01 preview and in the GPT4o. Okay, so the first prompt is where I say, let me just do a copy paste. This one is our GPT01 preview, where I say explain the impact of quantum computing on cyber security in simple terms. Okay, And now here, if you see, this guy says I am thinking, understanding the quantum computing, and then it gave me this result into 4 seconds, right? We'll park this for a while. Let's go to the other screen where the model is selected as GPT4o. I'll paste the same thing and say enter. Here, if you see, it immediately gave me the response without even thinking, analyzing and everything, right? So now if I just try to compare this, maybe I'll just do a side by side comparison. Okay, so the first one is from the GPT preview and the second one is from the 4o, right? So in the first one we can clearly see that it has understanding the quantum computing and its impact in the cyber security, right? So then it has given me a scenario that imagine you have a combination of a million possible combination, some computer related information, what is quantum computing, what is its impact, and then what can be done. However, if you see here into the GPT4o, the same response is available, but it has directly started with quantum computing has a this, and this is just kind of an article explaining the impact. It does not even tell me that what can be done, right? So by looking at the responses, we can clearly see a difference between the 4o and the preview, which has given me more accurate response because it was thinking and its capability, right? So that was the first thing. Let's try to do a second test. Write a short story about a robot that learns to feel the emotion, right? Story writing. Send. Then you can see here it's still thinking, crafting the story, right? And meanwhile I'll just do the same thing into the GPT4o as well, and I'll send this, right? So both of them are now writing their own story based on the prompt which I have given, right? And let's try to see the difference. It gave after thinking, it gave in 11 seconds the awakening of Echo. Echo was a state of this building for this. One day he was organizing books in the library. He was this. Perplexed Echo consulted its developer, who is the Dr. Martins. Dr. Martin explained him. It's kind of a conversation between the doctor and the robot, but here it's mostly the more or less the same thing what I personally feel. In the lab nested with this, it called an Aries. One day he was taking a research papers, Aries notice, right? So mostly for this fictional kind of things, I would say the response is more or less the similar, right? If you can see here is exactly the same story, just by changing the name and the character. So it is not giving a significant change in the 4o and the preview, right? So for the basic stuff, right, writing a story, replying to an email, summarizing the page, you can still stick to the GPT4o. The real difference in this model would be visible when we actually pass something which requires more kind of research and more kind of thinking, right? So now I have got a prompt which says analyze the potential economic impacts of implementing a universal basic income UBI in a mid-sized country. Consider the factors such as employment, inflation, social welfare, long-term economic growth. Provide a detailed multifaceted analysis, right? Kind of a complex thing. Let's try to send it to the first to the O1 preview, and then you see here this guy says thinking, clarifying the request, examining the UBI effects, assessing the inflation, all of that, weighting the impacts, and then it actually gave you the responses in some time, right? Which started with something which is the introduction to the UBI, what is the positive impact on employment, what is the negative impact on employment, right? Inflation, what are the inflationary pressures, what are the migrating factors, what are the considerations, right? Third thing was for the social welfare, what is the positive impact, what is the negative impact, and then consideration, and same for the long term economic growth. right? And funding mechanisms and all of that is available, and it also give you a nice conclusion as well. Think and then give you the response. However, if I try to pass the same thing in the GPT4o and let's try to see that, you would see that the response is coming immediately, right? And see the difference, right? The prompt is same, right? The model is different, right? Here it started with the introduction, then gave directly you the response, because we ask it to consider the factors and detailed multifaceted analysis. Here it is more kind of a description, what is employment, participation. It never told about the what is positive and what is negative, right? So positive impacts, negative impacts, what are the considerations. So GPT4o is good, it has given me the information, but it's not really what I was looking for. But if you are somebody who is doing the research, this guy is something which is good in terms of getting that insights from the query which you have asked. So again, in case your query is basic, simple, you can still stick to the GPT4o. But if it is something where you need analysis, where you need a critical thinking, go for the 0-1 preview. Okay. Let's try to do one more test where I provide something which, let's say, all of us can relate to, right? So I say that evaluate the potential of economical and social impacts on the widespread automation and the AI adoption in a mid-size country workspace, right? Discuss the implication for employment, income quality and productivity and economic growth, right? So we are talking about automation AI and people would be able to relate, right? Let's try to search it first in the one preview. Thinking, assessing this, evaluating the automation impacts, right? Taking some time to analyze and then giving you the response, right? So what is the impact of this automation AI in a mid-sized country workspace, workforce, and we have asked it to give information in this aspects, right? So still it is generating. Meanwhile we can go and read this, right? So first it has given a brief introduction that how automation AI is reshaping the economics worldwide. Then it talks about the employment, potential job displacement, that automation of the routine task, impact on the low skilled workers. At the same time, it also give an aspect that yes, some jobs might be displaced, but it is also creating new jobs for new industries, demand for the specialized skills. So how does the change in nature of work would happen? Shift towards the high skill jobs, gig the economy expansion. It also shows that there is a skill mismatch in the education and the training, and you might have a retraining needs in case everybody wants to upskill to the automation and the AI, right? Which is kind of good. Then it also talks about the income inequality, widening the wage gaps, impact on the low skills versus high skill workers, potential policy responses, productivity, how it is going to impact the productivity, economic growth, short term versus long term, right? Social impact. It talks about the policies which are going to happen, and then lastly it concluded this complete thing, and these are the final thoughts from the model, right? Kind of a pretty well articulated and a thoughtful response, right? Let's try to do the same thing into the GPT4o. Okay, and it started directly giving this response where it started with the employment, right? Let's see what we have here in the employment so we can compare. Here it is, job displacement, reskilling of the workforce. More or less the content and the context is exactly the same. However, if you see the way the information is presented, right, which one you personally feel is more relevant to the questions, right? Take some minutes, try to analyze, read this, both of this. You can pause the video and read both the answers, right? And personally for me, I feel this response, right, where it started with the introduction, what is the job displacement, automation of this thing, low skill workers, it's also going to create new jobs, then what is the new trend. And however, here the information is more or less the same thing, but it is more kind of a wider scope, right? The scope of the information is very huge. It's not narrowed down to what you have actually asked, and that is what this guy GPT-01 preview is best at doing, right? You can see here this has given me this thing, right? So in case your work or research or your prompts or your use case is something which is falling into this category, you should definitely go and try the O1 preview. Okay, now if as a developer, right, if I just try to pass it a function where I say write a Python function that takes a list of numbers and list in an ascending order and using the built-in sort function, right? So I gave it to this one, which is the 01 preview. Okay, implementing the bubble sort. Okay, and now here is the Python program as a developer which I have got, which is to return the list in the ascending order without using the sort functions, right? So without using the sort function, it has used something which is called bubble sort. If I just pass the same thing into this guy, which is my GPT4o, and here is the Python function implementing using the bubble sort, right? So for these kind of tasks, right, where you do not need much of the thinking and all, I think both the responses are exactly the same, right? As a developer, you can understand that both these functions are using bubble sort. They have it might be difference because of the way it is written, but ideally the concept both of them have utilized is something which is called the bubble sort. So for these kind of tasks, we can still stick to the GPT-4o, but when it comes to the advanced and core analysis kind of stuff, then the GPT-01 preview has more power, right? Okay, so that is pretty much I wanted to cover in this video. I just wanted to give you an overview that what exactly this guy is, and I hope you guys have a background that what exactly this guy can do better, right? I would really wanted to know from your point of view that where exactly do you think that this model can be used, and some of the use cases which came immediately to your mind after watching this video, right? I would really appreciate your feedback on this video. Any more questions, any more comments, feel free to write in the comment section, or you can also drop me an email as well, right? So with this, I would like to wrap this video here. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video where we'll explore more about the GPT.